We've been fighting a long time, and we have all lost so very much, so many loved ones gone. But you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Ave Maria Stella, Dei Mater Alma, atque semper Virgo, Felix te porta.
Welcome everybody, Steve with Cespadel, coming in once again with Charles Coulombe, still in Austria.
You bet.
Here we're going to talk to what?
I am still here.
He's melting away as well. It's a cool 95 where I'm at, but he's I think he's 96, 97 there.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. But you know it's going to drop down to the 70s tomorrow. It's like that here in the summer.
Well, when it's 70 here, it's your glasses still fog up. It's what you call a sauna outside, but I'm in the dirty South, so it's normal.
Yeah, the deep South. You know, you can't beat the South.
You know, that's the only thing I liked about living in Colorado. There was no humidity, so when the sun went down, when it was 100 degrees, it was nice and cool outside. Here, yeah, it's a sauna.
Well, that is true. I mean, same in Southern California, when the sun usually, sometimes not, but usually, once that sun goes down, the heat drops.
Yeah.
And that makes it better. But, you know, if you've got a humid climate, it's not happening.
No.
The joke, of course, in Louisiana is that it's not the heat, it's the stupidity. That's what they always say. But, no, we had a American Exiles 4th of July here, barbecue and, weenie roast and all that kind of thing. But I have to say, my city of Los Angeles outdid itself in terms of illegal fireworks this year. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed.
I saw the video. The news people were not so happy about that.
Oh.
It's like, how dare these people shoot fireworks?
Oh, so sad. And, you know, the funny thing to me is that Soma, which is the almost all Mexican section of Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley, where my brother has a home, for years, we just sit in the backyard and watch the neighbors let off what you saw all LA enveloped by. Roman candles, skyrockets. And, you know, it was really sad that my late father didn't live to see it, because we would, of course, illegally, for people in the city of LA, use Safe and Sane fireworks. But he would always go on rapturously about the dangerous Roman candles and skyrockets of his childhood. And there's a wonderful American Heritage article you can get online called The Glorious Unsafe Fourth, all about just that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And my dad was old enough to have lived that particular dream. So I'm very sad he didn't live long enough to, relive the adventure. And it was interesting in looking at the footage to see a number of palm trees got set on fire. You'd have to expect. But yeah, it was pretty good. And the air quality, I wished I'd been there. I would have been nostalgic. Because when I was a boy, the air was lousy in Los Angeles. It was just terrible. And I'm sure I've still got miner's lung because of it. But, it was horrible. If you're living up in the valley, as we did several times, when you drive down into the city, there'd be this cloud of yellow murk that you were going to go into, and you're like, ooh, knowing it was going to be in your lungs shortly.
It glows at night.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then, the one thing where the environmentalists were quite right is that, if you limit the amount of lead emissions and you cut down the smokestacks, especially in a place with a heavy inversion layer the way we have, then you know what? You're going to have cleaner air.
Yeah.
But I can remember it being so bad that we'd have days off because it would be insanity. to have the kids.
I've
Come
only
out of the
experienced
house.
that. I experienced that in Denver. There was a couple of times I remember walking outside, and I told my wife, "Is somebody barbecuing? And did they burn the grocery store? Because there was smoke all over, and it was kind of orangey-ish."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's smog.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, they ain't nothing like smog. No, sir.
Yeah, one thing we don't have down here, we got humidity, but we don't got smog. Smoggers are out
No.
west, New York.
No, smog. It was really something, and I can remember I used to get these horrendous headaches, from the stuff. But as I say, that all passed. But apparently, the night of the 4th of July, the air quality was the worst it's been in many years, because the inversion layer, it being a hot summer. See, the hotter it is, the worse the inversion layer. So the reason why we would have hot and smoggy days and not cold and smoggy days is because when it's cold, there's no inversion layer. And so it just, goes away. I mean, there's even to this day, there's nothing quite so nice as the Southland after a good heavy rain.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Southern California, after all the impurities are gone and the things you can see why people moved out there in droves. Then things go back to normal, and you can see why they also leave in droves. But no, anyway, but so it was fascinating. We had a 4th of July thing, as I say, no fireworks. I have to admit, with what's going on in the country right now, I'm perhaps rather less homesick than I would have been. It seems like, from over here anyway, it seems like an unrelenting tale of stupid.
It's literally like, hold my beer. How can I one up you?
Give me a rifle stock. I'll crash your teeth in, and then we'll see.
Yeah, the People's Republic of Chaz no longer exists. I was kind of hoping to get to see the Olympic team, though.
Yeah,
they
I was
fine
broken.
If they didn't go after the mayor.
I was brokenhearted about that. About Chaz, Chop, Chump, whatever it ended up being called.
Yeah.
I was very upset at it being broken up. I felt that this was an assault on our precious American liberties. I think that what it was is that the mayor of Seattle is a racist. The woman is a screaming racist, and her attack on Chaz, Chop,
Was unprovoked.
it was totally unprovoked. It shows she hates the people.
Where was the fire on Fort Sumter at Fort Chaz?
Yeah. Well, you know what it is? The mayor of Seattle is a Karen. We know this. She's a Karen. And she proved her Karenhood by suppressing the peaceful, innocent inhabitants of Chaz. I mean, the nerve of that broad, I'll tell you, I can't believe she did that. That's terrible. I mean,
Yes.
What next? Funding the Minneapolis PD so the city doesn't burn? I mean, is there no end to this insanity?
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, this is how you deal with stuff like this. You mock it. It's because it's so stupid.
Well, what else can you do?
Yeah.
I mean, what makes it doubly infuriating, really, when I think of all the beautiful things these people have destroyed, and how much more they want to destroy, and how much more they will destroy, and how idiotic people are bending over backwards to accommodate them. See, I don't care how noble you think your cause is, or even how noble it may be. You pull this sort of garbage, you're going to say the country is just racist and it's horrible and it's evil. Well, you know what, little one? You have 3 choices ahead of you, as I see it. 1, you can pick up your little rear end and go somewhere else. Lord knows I have. But really and truly, if you think that America is an irredeemable land of racism, you need to go somewhere that isn't. the very nature of its being irredeemable shows that you can't reform it, not without slaughtering 75% of its inhabitants. And since I don't think even these morons imagine they can pull that off, then I think what they need to do is go to someplace like Mauritania. Oh, they still have black slaves in Mauritania. Oh, we're not talking about that, are we? But maybe Black Lives Matter and Antifa could land at the port of Nouakchott, Mauritania, hire a few trucks or something or other to go off into the interior and battle with the Tuaregs to free their Haratine slaves.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love the guys like Colin Kaepernick and those guys that are with Nike and all got their moral high ground, but are totally fine with slave labor. LeBron James, I don't hear him talking about those kind of slave work.
I think if I were a betting man, or better, if I were a bookie, and I would take bets on Tuaregs versus Black Lives Matter / Antifa, I'd bet on the Tuaregs every bloody time. Because those guys, there's a reason they still have their slaves.
Yeah.
They believe in the institution.
That was
they really.
One guy, it was Jocko Willick, he was talking about that. He said, there's a reason why they don't come into my neighborhood. They don't have the heart for their movement. They don't come into neighborhoods where they might have to fight.
Well, no, and I've been very happy to see both the Latin Kings in Chicago, Cicero and places like that, and the Crips in Long Beach, driving them off. Mm-hmm. And, it was kind of funny because in my, I don't know if you'd call it a utopia or a dystopia, but my novel of the future, Star Spangled Crown, that's exactly what happens. And several of these gangs get turned into royal militia. But see, that's actually how things happen in history. Mm-hmm. Yesterday's gang leader is tomorrow's feudal lord.
So are we trying to say that Idiocracy and Star Spangled Crown could be made into a movie to talk about now?
Could be. Call it, I don't know, Skyrockets Over Hollywood. Afternoon Delight.
I was waiting for you to say that. I was going to say it, but I'll let him finish the tune.
No, you and I have the same kind of stupid stuff crammed in here. It's very sad, really. Hey, don't you wish we had some useful things in there and not this garbage? this pop culture from nowhere.
It wouldn't be as fun, though.
What's that?
It wouldn't be as fun, though.
Well, there's that. Sky rockets in flight, afternoon delight. And what was the other one that came out around the same time? Please, Mrs. Somebody. And then the operator says, "Give me 3 more minutes." He's talking on the phone. It's really
if I heard it, I'd probably recognize it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh well, Billy, don't be a hero.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that at least.
Yeah. It's not registered, but yeah, I bet if we turned it on, I should look, but I'll forget about it.
It's the night Chicago died. That's right. All the worst of the 70s drivel. That's what I'm tossing out at you all today. And why shouldn't I? I lived the dream. I was there when they were spewing this garbage into the middle. This is apropos of nothing, but you recall the weird costumes that Cher used to wear on the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour.
Uh-huh.
Well, about 3 or 4 years ago, this woman was writing in the LA Times how she had taken her little daughter to one of these old hobby shops, that have a lot of stuff from that era that was never sold or whatever. So she picks up a doll of Cher in one of these weird costumes, and she says, "Mommy, is this drag queen Barbie?" And the sad thing is, the little girl was sincere. I mean, that's the kind of thing I might have said at that age, but I wouldn't have been sincere about it. This poor girl, She
Serious
really
as a heart
thought.
attack.
Yep. But it gives you an idea of how Barbie, not Barbie, but Cher dolls look to the modern child's mind. At any rate, what I think we could yap about today, especially in the wake of the adventures of the 4th of July, is, are you ready? True and false Americanism.
Yes.
You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. How did they like our musical renditions last time?
People love it. They're buying the MP3s left and right.
I'm sorry?
They're buying the MP3s left and right. They love it.
Yeah, okay. Well, folks, you know what they say, or rather what Hunter S. Thompson said. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. So, my career in a nutshell. But, no, there is a real Americanism. Now, we Catholic Americans, are used in dealing purely with the heresy of Americanism, which is a terrible heresy, and not only did all sorts of awful things, but thanks to John Courtney Murray, got exported to the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But that, oddly enough, is not the Americanism I want to talk about. I've talked about it elsewhere, and I don't think anybody would accuse me of holding it. I've been accused of being un-American. I've been accused of hating the Founding Fathers and hating our country. I've been accused of all sorts of things. But nobody ever accused me of holding the heresy of Americans. So, what is the other definition of Americanism? Well, I'll tell you. I was an Eagle Scout, and I served in our National Guard. So, my brothers in the American Legion, I belong to several organizations that even today have the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of their meetings. And those are all remnants, pieces and bits of what was called Americanism. And Americanism had all sorts of things that it would talk about. Have you ever heard of the Americans' Creed?
I do, but I couldn't repeat it right now. I do remember it, though.
Well, don't ask me to repeat it. I never memorized it. But the Americans' Creed summed up what was called, when I was young, and I guess when you were young, what was considered to be Americanism. And I will summon it up from the vasty deep, and you will see, I mean, it's a beautiful illustration of what people considered to be the thing that all Americans believed. Our country had a sort of quasi-religious adulation of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the Americans' Creed is probably the best example thereof. So here we are. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. Well, before I say anything else, I have to make an admission. Except as a statement to some degree of fact, I really can't go along with that first paragraph. I really can't. But I certainly can go along with the second.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read the second paragraph again. I'll drop the therefore. I believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. Now, the problem with that first paragraph is that it is a declaration of what was considered to be the ideology of America. And you'd often hear it. America is not a country, it's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And Americans don't have to be citizens as long as they share that idea. And this was said before the immigration thing. People would say things like this. In America, you can be a Frenchman or a Swede. You can be an African or an Asian, as long as he cherishes in his heart those ideals of freedom for which the founding fathers died. That kind of stuff. Well, unfortunately, to my way of thinking, that notion did replace the country itself in the hearts and minds of many people. And in the 60s, along came a man called Howard Zinn. Now, I love Zinfandel wine, red Zinfandel, which we often call Zinn. I assure you Howard Zinn had nothing to do with that. Howard Zinn wrote A People's History of the United States, which, as you can guess by the name, is sort of a left-wing kind of thing. And I don't want to say that all of his criticisms of the country were wrong. They weren't necessarily all wrong. But you know, one of the problems with the left is that while they're often very good at seeing what's wrong, their recipes, their responses are oftentimes worse than the original problem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're sick to your stomach? Try this strychnine. It'll take care of you. And it would, too. And Howard Zinn and his school, which is now dominant in the American university and really in the American educational system to a great degree, it was like that. And it had the effect of blowing apart the first part of that creed without giving any reason to justify the second. Now, what does this mean? What is Americanism really? Well, let's forget the word Americanism for a minute. Not just because of the baggage it carries for Catholics, but also because it does sum up that first paragraph, with which I have to say, I myself don't agree. So I would say that a big part of the problem with it is it destroys love of country in people who've come to see it as untrue. I would say that what people always said when I was growing up, that this country isn't an idea, isn't a country, it's an idea, is exactly wrong. And it's the wrong message to be giving. Because the truth is, this country is a lot more than some weird pie in the sky, shining city on the hill, last best hope of mankind thing. It's much different than that. It is the land in which God placed us. It's the land where our fathers came, or where we ourselves came. They gave us opportunity. That even gave us the chance, had we not been worthless cowards and real traitors to our country, even gave us the chance to evangelize her. Which we, in our cowardice and our pride, neglected to do. And that, by the way, is the real mark of the patriot, the Catholic American patriot, is that he wants above all to convert his country, to see her become what God intended for her to become from all eternity. Mm-hmm. But he didn't do it. And in that sense, we were far worse traitors than Benedict Arnold or Jefferson Davis. And we are paying the price now. People have asked me if I think that either or both the coronavirus and the ongoing stupidities are punishments from God. And I can only say, well, they don't seem to be blessings, do they? These aren't rewards for good behavior. You folks have been so pious and devout. I guess I'm going to give you a disease first and then give control of everyday life to real stupid people. I mean, brain-dead morons who couldn't get a real job if their lives depended on it. The only work open to them is either running a city hall or a state house on the one hand, or looting in the streets on the other. Two brands of moron that feed off each other like self-fulfilling parasites. Anyway, where are we going with all this? Well,
tell us how you really feel, Charles.
I'm beyond holding back. I'm sorry.
I thought you were holding back. Then let it all go.
I am. I'm going to let it all hang out, which is, of course, what we were told to do in the 60s, as I well remember. But somehow when it came to me letting it all hang out, nobody wanted me to. I don't know why this is. Letting it all hang out was always reserved for other people. Yeah. When I came along and I said, hey, I got a lot to let it. No, not yours. But you said no. But no. Well, I'm sick and tired of being repressed, ladies and gentlemen. Decades too late, I'm joining Mario Savio in the free speech movement. You bet.
Charles is free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty he is free at last.
That's right. Burn, baby, burn. You bet. The time has come. And actually, all kidding aside, it really has. I mean, the jig is up, so to speak. It's all over. There's no point pretending. We have mobs running around our major cities, plundering and destroying with impunity in the name of the evils of the country. See, if the country were what they claim it is, they'd all be dead. The little rear ends would have been shot off the first time around. Our local equivalent of Cossacks would have speared them. That's what would have really happened if this were the country of their dreams. Unfortunately, I believe they will create the country of their dreams. Maybe that's what they want to do. Maybe they're masochists and are really getting out there saying, please beat me, smack me around, hurt me. You keep doing that for a while, eventually you'll find someone who's willing to help you. Yep, you will. You will. Keep going, being obnoxious, breaking the furniture, smashing vases, and saying, kick me, hurt me, make me scream. That combination. One or the other by itself might not do it, but the two together, you're going to find somebody who's going to help you out with your particular weird need. Mm-hmm. Except I don't really think you're going to like it as much as you think you will. I really don't. The proof of the pudding, I mean, already in advance of the mayors, the governors, street gangs in Chicago, Illinois, Cicero, Illinois, Long Beach, California, taking back the streets from Antifa and BLM. I mean, I saw a video of these Crips encountering the BLM in Long Beach, and it was funny. The BLM weren't going to hang around. No.
I gotta look it up. I didn't see the video. I gotta check that out.
Oh, it's really something. It's little Long Beach. Get your ass out of here. Say you're sorry. And then you see them kind of just turning around silently, and the guys are following them, vituperating at them. They didn't even have to smack him around. It wasn't the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys doing him in. Nope. They knew better than to fight the Crips.
If two old people with guns outside their St. Louis house can run those guys off, I think the Crips going to make them running.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, just watching ththose two old people, the McCloskeys, I guess they're called. It's a Karen moment. No, scumbag. Wait till your house gets it. Then we'll see. I bet the McCloskeys clear out, though. I mean, I sure would. That place would be on the market so quick. Not my problem anymore. Bye-bye. I mean, other than that,
Baton Rouge is good this time of year.
Yeah, of course. Then I'll bet their donations to the neighborhood funds go way down this year.
Mm.
It's funny how you threaten people; they stop giving to charity. It's funny how that works. At any rate, so this brings us again. What is real Americanism? Well, I tell you, it is the second paragraph of that American creed. Less the therefore. And that's something we've lost sight of. You can't evangelize what you don't love, and you can't love what you don't know. So once this insanity is over, if indeed it ever does end, get to know your country, starting with where you are. That is to say, your parish. And when I say your parish, I don't just mean your parish church. I mean everything, shops, monuments, restaurants, whatever, within your parish boundaries. You know, in medieval Europe, parish was the smallest unit of civil administration. And in fact, in those days, the parish council, or the equivalent thereof, not only it took care of the church body, the fabric of the church, but they also took care of the poor and things like street lamps and all that. That's what the parish council did. And as a result, one of the innumerable phrases for going broke, because you'd have to go to the parish workhouse in England, they'd say you were going out of the parish. Now, in those days, of course, parish councils were all male, which is good, because could you imagine if Susan from the parish council had any supervising over poor little Oliver Twist? That poor kid would have thought Mr. Bumble was great. You know, he's so easy to get along with, so reasonable. But that Miss Susan, I'll tell you what.
You thought we had some problems now.
Oh, man. Well, you know, he goes up and asks for a second, right? Karen were there, not Karen, Susan were there instead of Mr. Bumble. He'd go up with them all and she'd say, "Get away, moron." But it's dinner time. I don't care if it's lunchtime. Get out. No, you don't want Susan to the parish council running the workhouse. Trust me. Not a good idea. But seriously, I think that we've got to regain that love of place, of where we are, and then it grows up from there. You know, you love your parish, your neighborhood, your ward, your district, whatever they call your borough, whatever they call the section of your city you live in, if you live in a city, and then the city itself, and the town, or if you're in some rural district, and then the county, then the state or province, and then the nation. See, that is the way you love things, from the bottom up. That's real democracy.
And if you get a person in every town doing this, it all just grows, and all of a sudden it all unifies into one afterwards.
After a while, absolutely. And of course, the other thing you also remember is that everybody who's worthwhile anyway loves their parish, their town, their state, their country, as much as you love yours. And loving those things doesn't mean you have to hate the others. Mm-hmm. It just means you love your own. But because you love your own, you can understand why people love theirs. And you don't begrudge it to them. Instead, of course, we do it just the other way around. Everything's imposed from the top. And these morons that are running around in the streets, and the other morons that are mooning around in the city halls and state houses, these worthless dogs, they think it's from the top down. You know, first you love humanity as a whole. Except those parts of humanity that aren't the way they should be. Them you abuse. Then maybe you love your country. Then maybe you love this. Then maybe all the way down to the bottom. But usually it never gets down to the bottom. There was a very funny video of a bunch of Antifa demonstrators coming into a little town in Alberta, Canada. And the spokescreature lady said to the fellow who was asking her, "What are you here for?" It's because of racism. Now they're all white, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Racism, I see. Have you ever encountered any racism in this town that you're coming into?" "Oh, there's lots of racism here." "Really? Give me one example." "Oh, it's everywhere." That wasn't my question. Give me an example of racism in this town, which you say is the reason you're coming in here. "Well, there's lots of it. There has to be." You know, it just went on like this.
Mm-hmm.
A baseball bat might have helped that lady with her, you know. And see, that's the downside. Those baseball bats and then other things, I think, are going to start coming out if this thing is not stopped quickly. But I have a feeling, it's only a feeling, and I'll make some predictions now, ladies and gentlemen. I may be completely wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to tell you. Then you'll know I'm not really using the tarot cards and the crystal ball. It's like this. My suspicion is that if the president continues to allow the local authorities to mishandle the operations, as I'm sure he shall, at least until the election, because, of course, if he did anything, their great strategy would be to say he's a tyrant. As it stands right now, he's funding whatever they want to do and leaving it to them to make the decisions. So I suspect this is going to probably go on until November. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Probably increasing in nastiness, quite possibly after another month or two of it, with people opposed to these ideas coming out swinging. And they'll get probably the brute end of what's the word? The brute end of law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where these guys are being treated pretty much with kid gloves, their opponents will not be. Suddenly you'll find that the mayors can use law enforcement when they're interested. And that's something to bear in mind. But and of course, it's like I actually had someone to say to me. I made the comment that the alt-right up till now really hasn't done much in the way of violence, and I got a note from somebody. "Have you forgotten Charlottesville?" Okay, honey child. Charlottesville. In comparison to everything that's been going on in this country the past month and a half.
Right.
Really? 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 I'll tell you what, if the alt-right were capable of doing anything like we've been seeing the BLMs and the Antifas, if they were capable of doing something like that, we'd have seen something a lot sooner. Anyway, now, not that this may not give them the ground on which to thrive. I won't say it won't. Won't say it won't. Anyway, so it'll go on. There'll be a resistance of some kind, which, as I say, will feel more from law enforcement than the current morons do. I suspect that the Trumpster will be reelected. And when he is, he will probably then crack down on the violence pretty heavily. Invoke the Insurrection Act or something and put an end to it. And probably put a lot of city halls out of business, in all likelihood. One way or the other. But that having been done, we will find out in the next term what Mr. Trump really is like. Remember, we had no idea of Mr. Obama's gender obsessions in his first term, because he knew full well that wasn't going to get him into the White House a second time. That wasn't going to play with the black community. which is why the first time he pretended, and why he pretended the second time. But as soon as he was securely in power, he let it all hang out. It'll be the same way.
Mhm.
We'll find out what Mr. Trump is really about in the second term. And since I don't know him that well, I'm not going to even speculate as to what we'll find out. But we will find out what it is we have. I hope it's something nice, but you never know. What I see in the long term, though, because this split will not simply go away, I see in the long term increasing civil unrest, probably ending with some sort of a strongman. And then everything will depend on him. You know, whether he's Franco or Mussolini, whether he's Pinochet or Hitler. Everything will depend on his quirks. And frankly, I'm not looking forward to it, and I hope I'm wrong. But that is my suspicion. And after that, it'll, as with Franco, it'll all depend on what he does to solidify or not solidify the state. So we'll see. None of it looks very happy-making, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish I could give you something more gleeful in a temporary sense. But since I can't, I'll move on to the higher sense. And the higher sense is that God is still in charge. Christ is still king. That has not changed. Neither have the requirements necessary for us to save our souls. Those haven't changed either. And no one can stop us from trying to save our souls and trying to save the souls of those around us. As you know, I've got a book coming out next month on Blessed Kaiser Karl of Austria.
Do you have a book coming out?
Did I mention that? Did I mention the publisher?
If you hit the link underneath for 15% off using the code SF15.
Oh, gosh. I
If
had
you
no
act
idea.
today, or tomorrow, or the next day. Whenever you want to act.
No CODs. Void were prohibited. Not an actor. Operators are standing by.
Free shipping and handling. Actually, the shipping is free.
See, what about handling, though?
They got rid of the handlers.
See, never mind. Anyway, but this was a man who had everything fall apart on him. And he saved his soul. He ended up as a blessed, and he's been a huge blessing ever since. He continues to be. So do not let the outward appearances of the geopolitical historical phase in which you live deflect you from what will lead to your eternal paradise. And may, mind you, all of my horrible predictions, if we make any kind of progress in evangelizing this great nation of ours, all those bets are off. I'm simply looking at what we have in the moment. But if there is a great Catholic revival in this country, things will be very different.
But you got to want it. You got to know what you're even evangelizing. You got to know the faith, to love the faith, to be able to spread it to others.
Yeah.
To make any kind of a dent.
You can't be a reservoir unless you have water. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then you're just a dry creek bed or a dry lake. So yeah, you've got to know your faith. You've got to learn it as well as you can. You've also got to know your country as well as you can, because you can't, as I say, you can't evangelize what you don't love. You can't love what you don't know. And that's one reason why missionaries have always made the best ethnographic museums, because they get to know the district in which they go into really well, the better to convert it. So that's my advice, and that's real Americanism. That's real American patriotism, which is a better term. And I cannot emphasize enough the need to love this country, because you can't evangelize her unless you do. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to evangelize her because she is doomed otherwise.
And it's our
Really.
duty.
Yeah. It's our duty, just as it is of any Catholic Indian or Catholic Japanese.
I know it's not
Chinese.
dogma for this, but I think it was Father Hardin says the Catholic that does not evangelize has no hope for the eternal salvation or to see it.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Well, what if I just put in $1 every Sunday? Would that be enough? Or if I don't put in $1, would it be okay if I just used my parish's automatic online donating system? Would that be all right?
At the bare minimum.
Yeah, that's what I think you're doing, is the bare minimum. I think so, the bare minimum, and it makes it pretty easy because nowadays I'm getting the bare minimum. The website will say no communion, no confessions, no masses. Send your donation in here.
That's below the bare minimum.
Yeah, well, I mean, they give the minimum, you give the minimum. It's a love network.
Mm-hmm.
One hand smacks the other.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now you've heard my rant on Americanism, and I hope you're duly edificated.
Yeah, it's the act locally, think locally. If you try to think about the entire continent to evangelize, you're going to despair. But
Yeah,
if you worry about your street, and then after that your block, and then after that your community, town, neighborhood, then you got a chance.
yeah, and there are a lot of things you could do that you probably don't even think about. For instance, if you belong to the Rotary Club or something, being a practicing Catholic, to the extent of inviting your best friends from Rotary to your kid's confirmation party, that could be a powerful thing. Never underestimate the ministry of hospitality, because when you invite non-Catholics to baptisms, first communions, confirmations, those three, they will want to know what it's all about, and you will find yourself in a position to tell them all very pleasantly. It's not like you're going to be getting up on a soapbox and telling them stuff. It says, well, you see, we believe this and such, and that's why we do this and such. Of your 8 or 9 friends you invite like that, probably 7 or 8 will be like, well, one of them will very likely say, huh, really? That's interesting. Never heard that before. And then you've got an opening.
Even smiling. Life sucks, grab a helmet. It's crappy out there. You should have joy.
Yep. Happiness all around.
There was a Saint Theophane. His bishop had the quote 3 cheers for joy, and this is a bishop that had all his priests getting killed in Vietnam in the missions.
Yeah. I mean, keep a joyful outlook, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that difficult if you always remember that this doesn't last. Do what you have to do right now to keep going, but keep your eyes on the prize, in the words of the old civil rights song. The only thing that we did wrong was staying in the wilderness too long. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on.
We forgot to mention the last time. If you want Charles to come perform at your child's baptism or confirmation party, we have the info underneath. Fly him out there. You can sing all day.
That's right. Especially songs that are either inappropriate or perhaps rarely looked at for that particular occasion. I don't know, Mr. Coulombe, do you really want to sing We'll Meet Again at the funeral? Why not? It's a great song. Yeah, but
I got my secretary screwed up everything.
but Mr. Coulombe, we appreciate your coming to the wedding, but 2 for the price of 1, is that really a good song to sing at this? Isn't that a little out of place? Why did you sing the time warp at the baptism, Mr. Coulombe? That doesn't make any sense at all. So I make no claim that the songs will be appropriate, but I promise you that if I sing them, I'll remember most of the words and the verses.
They're strictly for entertainment purposes only.
And I will approximate the tune to some degree.
Operators are standing by.
Yeah, they sure are.
Charles, appreciate it, bud.
All right. Well, listen, we've got to keep a message of hope and happiness, and whatever happens from here on out, remember one thing: all the nonsense that we're dealing with right now was already present. It wasn't brought in with great expense from out of town. If you're not happy with the way your mayor or your governor is handling the situation, don't think they were really great and then went stupid overnight. They were stupid to begin with. So you have to ask yourself if you voted for them. If you didn't, well, then you're off the hook. But if you did vote for them, ladies and gentlemen, you have to ask yourself, to what degree are you responsible by not paying more careful attention? And don't let that happen again. Please, make sure that you regard mayoral elections, state elections, any election, as regarded as important as the national elections. Because, as we've seen, they are.
Yeah, if this hasn't proved it, I don't know what will.
No, I mean, for years, literally, I've been saying, most of the laws you live under are made at the local level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the important politicking is really going on. And I've said it till I'm blue in the face, and but I'll leave you with one more song. Yes. And I'll leave you with a song made popular by Franklin Delano Roosevelt as his campaign song in 1933. You tell yourself the message of this song over and over again, ladies and gentlemen, and who knows, maybe it'll come true by magic. And maybe the Yankees will win the pennant, and maybe the Dodgers will go home to Brooklyn. Any life is like that. There are all sorts of things that can happen. So, here it is. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Happy days are here again, the skies above are clear again. Let us sing a song of cheer again. Happy days are here again. All together shout it now, there's no one can deny it now. And we'll tell the world about it now. Happy days are here again. Mindless optimism, ladies and gentlemen. Mindless optimism. That's what I'm calling for. And if elected,
that's just good. That's going to be his campaign slogan. Vote for Charles. Mindless optimism.
Exactly. You wait. When I run for the presidency in 2024, that will be my motto. Mindless optimism.
Why not?
Our gateway to the future.
Kanye's running. I don't know what his votes.
I remember when Pat Paulson ran in 1968, and he had a great line. People ask me, why should I waste my vote on you? I say, don't waste your vote on me. Waste it on one of the other guys.
But don't do it at a local level, guys. We're just
No. There it's real.
Stay
there it's real.
Think local, act local, worry about your
That's
local
right.
guys.
Be a globalist. All right. God bless you all.
Charles, thanks, bud.